Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Funmilola Shelika. I'm the president of African Women Fish Processors and Traders Network, or Fishnet Nigeria. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with you in person for this Catfish Summer Academy West Africa, and that's why I'm sending in this recording. And I'll be sharing today on women in small-scale fisheries. And it's a presentation under the theme of women in fisheries in Africa. And the topic is Nigerian women in fisheries, powering communities, sustaining seas. So let's quickly dive into this without taking so much ado. And the overview of this presentation, I'm going to introduce AW-Fishnet, that is about AW-Fishnet, what we do. And also we'll be talking about the importance in small-scale fisheries and aquaculture, the key challenges faced by Nigerian women in fisheries, opportunities for empowerment and growth in fisheries, and also pathways to sustainable livelihood. So talking about AW-Fishnet, so who are we as an organization? AW-Fishnet is African Women Fish Processors and Traders Network, and we are a continental platform for women advancing the rights, visibility, and capacity of women in fisheries and aquaculture. We have presence currently in 48 African nations, whereby in those countries, their national chapters are members of the AW-Fishnet. This came about in 2017 after the CADEP meeting, and every woman in that meeting was asked to go back to their country and then form a network for women, whereby we're going to be the voices for women in fisheries, in fish processing, because they're part of this segment of fisheries that is neglected. So we were all encouraged to go back to our country and form this network whereby we have women in across the fisheries value chain, fisheries and aquaculture value chain, having their concerns, having their voice being heard, having them being represented where it matters. Concerning the Nigerian chapter, a strong national network representing women fish processors, traders, and aquaculture entrepreneurs. Same also across the fisheries and aquaculture's value chain segment, from hatchery, production, processing, marketing and distribution. Same also goes for fisheries. We have women who are not fishermen, but they own fishing boats, and they also send men to the sea and get the fish where they process before the market and they sell it. In Nigeria, we have close to 2,000 women as part of our network all across the 36 states of Nigeria. Our mission is to ensure women in fisheries are recognized, they are empowered, and are included in policy and decision making across all levels. That is, most of the times policies are being made that affect the women in fisheries without them being present in those rooms where those policies are being adopted, and then the enactment becomes a problem. When it's time for it to be enforced, it becomes so hard. So, but when the women are already represented in that space, by the time the enforcement of these policies are being brought up, they would have been considered, and their own thoughts in that regards had also been put under consideration before those policies are being enacted. Our core areas as AW-Fishnet is capacity building. We have been able to train over 2,000 women in fish handling, value-added products variants, the WASH, that is improving the processing technology, and business and entrepreneurship development, which is very, very key to the women in this space. Fish handling is a major issue because the women in fisheries, they also get the water they use in washing the fish is also from the sea, which at the end of the day gets the fish bad after being processed. And then we need to teach them how to really process the fish so that to increase the shelf life of the fish without it going bad within hours or within a couple of days. So we've been, those are part of the things that we bring to fore that we do for the women. And also we teach them how to add value and have more product variants rather than just smoking the fish. We've taught them how to make fish snacks, fish sausages, fish there's a fish called there's a product in Nigeria that is called kilishi. It's been done with meat, but we've been able to transform it using different fish variants and different fish species in also producing such products. There's also a fish pepper soup product, which is freeze dried. That's another technology. These are kind of the trainings that we've been able to bring to fore for these women. And also for hygiene for themselves personally. You know, the mentality of women in fish processing, always smelling and not looking their best. We've been changing the narratives by helping these women take their own health concerns more importantly, and also their hygiene of to their own bodies, and also convenient ways that they can actually carry out their processing activities without it becoming a health hazard to themselves at the end of the day. And also for their businesses, we're able to teach a lot of women on bookkeeping and finances, on how to manage their business on a day-to-day. We've taught them about staffing and how to really run their business on a day-to-day without having to be a big conglomerate. We've been able to arm them with all of these informations in our only two ways. Policy advocacy too is one of the core areas of AW-Fishnet, representing the voices of these women at policy dialogues and that affect them both nationally, regional conversations, and all through the continent conversation. We've been able to do this through AU-IBA, through their REC meetings, that is the regional meetings. For South Africa, we have the SADC, that is the South African Development Commission. We have for ECOWAS, for the West Africa, and we also have COMESA for the East Africa. AU-IBA has been able to bring us into these conversations most of the times. We have women representative also stating, having a seat in those conversations and amplifying the voices of these women, their challenges, and what could be done and the policies that affect them that has been enacted. Also for market access support, we've had capacity buildings on cross-border trade in conjunction with GIZ and the ACTFA, that is the ACTFA Secretariat, which is in Togo. That's the African Trade Agreement, which has been quite helpful for them to know that, okay, now they can actually do their transactions outside of their country and understanding how it really works. This is a part of the things that we've been able to do for our women that are our members. Also networking and partnership, which is very, very important. And this mostly is being done through the Continental platform, whereby women are selected from different national chapters of AW-Fishnet, and they are sent out to other countries to learn more about their technologies and to learn more on how to do their business in fish processing and in fish processing. I know last year we had some of our members go to Brazil. We had some go to Germany, where there was an exchange program that had happened. Also, even within Africa, we've had some of our members come to Nigeria to come and train on the better fish processing, because we realized that our own technology is actually ahead of most of the African countries because of the way our fish are being processed. So it has a longer shelf life. So these are kind of the exchange programs that we've done so far, both on national and continental level. On national level, mostly we bring in the women from the coastal areas and the riverine areas, and we do an exchange program with them too, teaching them how to really process their fish and how to handle their fish. Some of our partners, to mention a few, we have Edja Ice, which is a company that fabricates solar-powered refrigerating system. They're partners. They are one of our partners. We have Future Fish. They are in the UK. We have AIT, that's the Asian Institute of Technology. We have a project ongoing with them. We have, which is for gift, that is genetically improved tilapia species and also catfish species, which is an ongoing program with BGMF. Also, we have GIZ, we have AU-IBA, we have AUDA NEPAD, we have FAO, just to mention a few of the partnerships that we've been able to go with in the past few years that we've been in existence. And also now we're talking about the role of Nigerian women in fisheries. The women in fisheries, we have about 50% of women are active in post-harvest in fisheries. That is, they're active in harvesting, processing, and marketing the fish, marketing and distribution of this fish. For aquaculture, they are active in harvesting because they are the ones that would take the fish to where it will be sold. And for fisheries, same thing goes. When the men get back from the sea, it's the women that pick up the fish, process them, and sell it to the wider market. Also, they are the critical contributors to household food security. Yes, the women are the critical contributors in this space for food security because they are the ones that on the go feeding the family, and they have to find a way to play to be more involved in food security. And how do I mean? Having smaller spaces to grow their fish and contributing to having more protein in their meals in their own little way, not having to go all the way out to get to get a bigger farm. And also this they do selling even to their neighbors all around them and making income for themselves. And they are custodians of traditional knowledge and practices. I can say for sure, like for most of the women in fisheries in the coastal areas, we realize that it's a tradition. It's a generational business that has been ongoing, whereby you hear some tell us, oh, my great grandfather, my great grandmother has been in this business all her life, and it keeps going down. And then my grandmother took it, and then my mother, and now it's my own turn. And then you see them also bringing in their children into this, and also passing down the knowledge of the tradition in that space of fish processing, the marketing, and the distribution of the fish, and the practices that is involved in fish processing. Also, they're key players in sustaining local fisheries value chain. Definitely, they're the major people in that space. Like I said initially, once the fisherman come, is a woman that will buy off the fish. She would be the one to process the fish, and then she gives it to someone else that will be the one to market and distribute the fish that they've been able to process. So basically what it means is women are key players in sustaining this fish value chain. Same goes for aquaculture too. The woman buys the fish. For example, I am a processor. I don't own a fish farm. So I have to go to the fish farm, to the to the cluster where they have so many people involved in in production. I buy it from them, I process it. I have wholesalers that come to pick up the smoked dried fish from me and also distribute across board. And most of my customers are actually women. So most of my wholesalers are actually women. So that's how it goes. And we've been able to sustain this value chain as much as we can in our own little way. Now, talking about the importance of small-scale fisheries and aquaculture, for food security, it's actually really key and paramount even in this time. Small-scale fishery actually supply a major share of the fish consumed in Nigeria, and it's a critical source of affordable protein. I could say for a fact in Nigeria today that aquacultural fish is more affordable than the imported fish that have been brought in. Yes, for the fisheries, I wouldn't say it's that affordable because it's more expensive, but aquaculture fish is more affordable right now. And small-scale fishermen are the ones that are actually holding forth in that space because they have all the smaller ponds in the back of their houses, which actually on a daily basis it's bringing in some income for them. And this we know can actually help salvage the food security that we are all talking about at the moment. Also, it provides employment, it provides jobs for millions, as in a lot of people are being uh, are being employed in the fisheries and aquaculture space, particularly women in processing and the marketing and the distribution. And like example again, for in my own business, I have over 70% of my staff are women because they are the ones that help in processing the fish. They are the ones that are marketing, they're the ones that are distributing. So it's actually a space whereby on a daily basis, you're getting more people being employed in the production of fish. They have a lot of women in that space because we believe that women are the nurturers. So that's why we have more women in that space. The women will nurture the fish in the whilst they're producing it, and they're not negligent in how they help in the production of the fish to grow out sizes before the processors get to pick them up, process, and then distribute, market it, and distribute it into the market to the final consumer. For livelihood, it sustains coastal and inland communities, often as a primary income source. This cannot be overly emphasized. Like I said initially, if you have a pond at the back of your house, you can sell to your neighbors easily, and that it's a primary income source for you on a daily basis. If you keep selling the fish to your neighbors, there's something that is coming in for you and your family without you having to go to the markets with a larger quantity of what you've got. And same goes for the coastal area too. When you get to that space on a daily basis, once the fishermen come in, you see the women all out there selling their wares. They sell the prawns, they sell they sell the shrimps, and all that the men had brought from from the sea. They are the ones that have their tables out there and get to sell them immediately after it's been brought in by the men. For cultural heritage, it preserves traditional fishing methods and indigenous processing techniques. But I've come to realize that women in those coastal areas, they have a traditional way of traditional indigenous ways of processing their fish, which cannot be taken away from them, even as much as we've been able to train them to improve on what they have. And what we've been able to do most of the time is just to improve a little bit on the technology they have so that the fish can actually go wider, for them to get more market and more people interested in what they are churning out. So it's a way of preserving their cultural heritage. Economic contribution. It supports rural economies and reduces poverty through income generation. And like I said initially, income generation here now is in different forms because already you have the people that would help to, once the fish is out, and you have the people that will help you to clean the fish before you package to sell. That's one particular, that's generating one income. We have people that actually also buy off the guts from the fish for other things that they do for fish meals and all of that. That's another income that is being generated. So there are different ways this helps to support the rural areas and to support their economy and to reduce poverty in their spaces. And also it helps for gender inclusion because women they play a pivotal role, a central role in value addition and market access, and they help enhance the community resilience in their own small spaces. And okay, so let's talk about the challenges that are faced by women in the Nigerian fisheries sector, fisheries value chain, fisheries and aquaculture value chain, limited access to finance and credit facilities. In Nigeria, as a woman, you're not really allowed to have your own assets, that is like maybe land, cars, and all of that, which has to do with the gender bias. So most of the time, the banks cannot give you fundings if you don't meet the requirements, what is expected of you. But as a woman, most of the time, we can't meet up with this requirement because we do not have the financial muscle to be able to acquire these assets that are being needed as collateral for them to be able to access these finances. And the gender-based barriers to market entry, especially in aquaculture, it's a major issue because it is a male-dominated space. Market entry is always quite difficult, especially women that want to go into fish production because it is financial intensive. It is you need a lot of fundings to be able to do that, and also the technicality of it. Also, the women are not really, they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have They don't, they're being seen as not having the capacity to be able to do it. So women struggle most of the time to get into that market for fish production. It's only in processing. Yes, they still struggle a bit to get the technologies and all the equipments that are needed to do that. Poor infrastructure and storage facilities. This is a big, big issue. And that was when we collaborated with Edge Ice, even though the refrigerating system from Edge Ice is not that affordable for all the women to be able to have that. But that not having storage facilities on site, especially in our coastal fishery areas, it's a major issue because at the end of the day, they just get to sell out the fish, and sometimes it leads to a lot of post-harvest losses for them. So we don't have the proper infrastructure. They don't have the proper processing plants that is needed for them to churn out quality products at the end of the day. Then climate change impacts on fish stocks. I would say that most of the women in these spaces don't really know so much about climate change, how they are even part of the problem affecting the climate. We need to have, they need to be educated on that, because conversations around climate change half of the time are always so ambiguous, and then at the end of the day they don't get anything out of it. So it needs to be simplified in a way that these people can understand how they are even part of the problem of the climate change, and to be able to help to reduce the effects of the effects of climate change on our fish stocks and on our environment. Also, under representation in policy and decision making. I think I've said this a bit. I've said a bit about this, that women are not well represented in these spaces, especially when conversations are going on about decisions and policies. They're not well represented in those spaces. So we need to do more for them to be seen in these places. And that's what AW-Fishnet has also been trying to do, bringing them up to speed and making them more vocal to be in these meetings, to hear firsthand those informations and to be able to contribute as to those conversations and how we affect them. So opportunities for empowerment in this space. Capacity building can never be enough, especially in aquaculture and fish processing. We really need more technicalities and more women being empowered to be able to do this on their own. Like I said initially in the previous slide about them having a power torso, the barrier for market entry. So as AW-Fishnet, yes, we've been able to do our own bits in this capacity building and for aquaculture and in fish processing, but we need more. So have more partners that can actually help in achieving this and having more women having a better life, even in this space. Then access to modern fishing and preservation technologies. I've mentioned that it's one of the major challenges. And if we have more partnership and collaboration in this space for us to be able to acquire more facilities for them. In one of our fisheries coastal line, I think about two of them in Sabokoji, we were able to secure a solar powered drying system, drying technology for them, and also a solar powered processing, a solar powered refrigerating system also for them. And it's actually reduced the pressure on them while they're processing, and the products that they're churning out is actually more of good quality. Also, same thing goes for another coastal area called Igbokoda in another state in Nigeria, that's in Ondo State. We were able to improve their technology a bit, introducing something more sophisticated for them to be able to have their crayfish dried out, so that those of us that still export crayfish buy off from them, reprocess in our own plants before packaging to send out for export. But we still have a lot of other landing sites and other communities that actually needs the same technologies to improve their livelihood and to improve the economy of their community. Then strengthening cooperatives and women networks. When we realized that it's been difficult for women to be able to access funding, we started forming them in clusters and in groups as cooperatives and smaller women networks, whereby they all come together. There's a particular amount that they've agreed to put together. And then when any member needs a loan. They're called soft loans. The cooperative just gets a bit of a percentage, which is lower than what they can get from the bank, and then hands out the funds to the women that need it. And this has actually been helping the women have access to their own fundings, and being able to teach them how to really to save something out of their businesses. And this had actually improved their access to finance uh, in a local way as much as we can. Then leveraging the blue economy for women inclusion. Yeah, blue economy is quite, I wouldn't say, it's quite new in Africa. And trying to leverage on it, because really there's not been so much inclusion of women in this space. Yes, blue food is part of blue economy, fisheries and aquaculture is part of blue economy, but conversations around it are not really, women are not really being looked at. But we've been trying to involve women in these conversations and understanding, for them to understand what the blue economy is all about and how it affects them and what is their own roles in the blue economy. Policy advocacy for gender responsive fisheries law, and these are part of the conversations too. Recently, I was at the UN Food Summit in Addis, where I was part of some high level conversations as regards the role of women in small scale fisheries, and how exactly has blue food been embraced under the food system. But realized that in most of those conversations, blue food was never really part of the conversation in the food system of the UN. But at that conversation, I was able to open the minds of the donors and other agencies that were there, that it is really critical, because blue food is more like the cheapest protein that people can actually afford all over the world, because we have some countries that don't have access to meat, but they have a lot of land, and they have a lot of water bodies, and fish is one of the major proteins that they have for their populace. So, pathways to sustainable livelihood, inclusive fisheries governance, that is having women play a part in fisheries governance, not just about the men, but having to understand what they also know about governance in fisheries. Investment in infrastructure and value addition. Yeah, we, from time to time, if there are RFQs, if there are proposals, we still try to put in our own best foot and see what comes out of it, so that we'll be able to have more investment in infrastructure for these women, and so that it could better their livelihood, and also to improve their income in the fishery sector. Then youth engagement and mentorship programs, we do that from time to time. In AW-Fishnet, there's a representation for youth. In AW-Fishnet, we have a youth representative, and we have programs that we bring together for youth in our action plans, from the continental level, even also to the national level. And so one of the things we do is to mentor the younger ones, because we realize that so many youths are not getting involved in fisheries and aquaculture. When some of them are out of school, even if they've studied fisheries and aquaculture, they do not practice. So mentorship has been able to help a whole lot of them to actually take it on as a business that they do. And thank God for most Nigerians being diaspora now. So many of them get to do informal export of fish to their families and friends in diaspora, and they're making more income in Forex. So that has actually been something that has been quite helpful, that we've been doing from time to time. Partnership with NGOs, government and private sector. We need to have more partnerships. We need to establish more relationship amongst the government, among the donor agencies, the private sector. All need to work together for sustainable livelihood in the fisheries and aquaculture sector, and also promoting eco-friendly fishing practices. This cannot be overly emphasized too. We need to promote eco-friendly fishing practices all across board. I remember the first time I was visiting Tanzania, I had my fish that I wanted to showcase. It was packaged in food grade nylons, but on getting to the airport, they said they don't allow polythene, nylon, whatever it is, they don't allow it into their country. So right there, they got us paper packaging for fish, because they already have a law in place as regards biodegradables and all of that. So we got brown paper for the fish to package our fish, Ziplocs right there at the airport. We were able to get them, and then we had our fish packaged in those. And since then, it's been quite important for us. And we've been using paper packaging for most of our products in our own business. So it's really important that we promote eco-friendly fishing practices and all across the value chain. So it's quite important to us. So Fishnet's policy and advocacy action. We're engaging government dialogues with the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. There was an advocacy plan, action plan, that an advocacy strategy that Auda Nepal has come up with for the continental body, but we've been advised to cascade it down even to our own national bodies, whereby we have frequent interactions with our governments, the arm of the agency of the government that works with women and the ones that work with fisheries and aquaculture. And that's where we have the Ministry of Agric and Rural Development. We have the Department of Women Affairs and Fisheries Department, both on, we've been having conversations with them both on state levels and also on the national level. Yes, we've been having conversations with this agencies on how to improve and how to advocate more for our women, and also for policies that concerns our women in the fisheries and aquaculture sector. Then representation, ensuring our voices are heard, especially in national fishery policy reviews. We've been able to do that through a particular fund that most of the meetings that are being done in Nigeria that has to do with policy, that has to do with advocacy, anything in line with fisheries and aquaculture, or that has to do with a woman in general. We always invited to those conversations, and there we get to lend our own voices too. So in conclusion, I would like to say Nigerian women in fisheries are vital to food security, the livelihoods, and the community well-being. So by breaking down barriers and seizing opportunities that we've talked about, they can empower a more sustainable and equitable future for the Nigerian fisheries. I can say that for a fact because I've seen most women doing so well in this space, but we need more women to catch on and be on that train, whereby we have a sustainable livelihood for them, and then increase in food security, and also for the well-being of the communities that these women belong to. Thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate, and I hope to hear from us. I will be dropping my contact details. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you so very much. I think I might need to add one more slide to have my contact details. Hmm.